The Porter 5 forces essentially evaluates the attractiveness of an industry. It evaluates the sustained profit-making potential of that industry. These Porter forces, 5 of the Porter forces, beginning with the power of buyers, the power of suppliers, substitutes, and the other 2 forces, right? All 5 of them put together cumulatively determine the attractiveness of an industry. You very rarely find a situation where all these forces are attractive or all these forces are unattractive. Typically, you would find when evaluating an industry, you would find that perhaps 2 or 3 of these forces are attractive, whereas the others are unattractive. Also, you will find that the degree of attractiveness varies. In some cases, the industry is disastrously unattractive. In some cases, the industry is marginally unattractive. So, these factors need to be incorporated into an evaluation of industry, right? What is typically done is that to evaluate the attractiveness of an industry, we could give weightages to these different Porter factors, to these 5 factors, because these weightages would vary from country to country, right? There could be major variations between the weightages to substitutes, for instance, in India compared to the United States, right? The existence of substitutes in the United States would be much larger than in India, and the weightage attached to that factor would therefore be much higher in the United States than in India. This is one kind of comment on the Porter force. Another comment is that these Porter forces keep changing from time to time as the industry evolves. This is another issue that needs to be borne in mind. When you determine the attractiveness of an industry for the purpose of formulating your strategy, you come to a decision that that industry is attractive. Now, that industry is attractive at that point in time. Perhaps a decade later, there have been changes in the business environment in the country. Perhaps there have been changes in the business environment internationally, which has resulted in that industry becoming more attractive or less attractive. So, we must always be open to the idea that industry attractiveness determined by the Porter 5 forces is not something which is valid for all time to come. It is valid for that particular point in time when that industry is being studied. And since these kind of changes would occur rather slowly, relatively slowly, therefore one would assume that for many years thereafter the attractiveness quotient which we have worked out remains the same.